because I started in the theater, and stage actors, it wasn't important how you looked out of the theater. You know, I didn't wear makeup and glamorous clothes. You know, I just dressed in an ordinary little Yankee way. And they didn't understand people like that.
Was there something wrong with me for having found you beautiful all that time?
Well, you weren't born.
No, but
I'll bet you money I could be your mother.
I was precocious.
Well, precocious, yes, that's right, you still are.
Oh.
No, but the true sense of the word precocious means you're brilliant.
Oh, does?
Have you ever looked it up in the dictionary?
No,
They always say some child is precocious, and we've gotten to believe that it means they're just impossible to deal with. It means they're way beyond their years and they're bright.
They can be a precocious adult, too.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah. How come you didn't kiss me then when you came out if I'm so...
Well, I have to do, let's see, this is the third show. By the fifth show, we'll give each other a hell of a kiss when I come out.
She'll give him one hell of a kiss, and that is Betty Davis talking to Dick Cavett. And this is Will, this is your Sci-Fi guy, now YouTube guy, now promoter of YouTube, or certainly a reminder, I guess is the best way to encapsulate and to categorize it, is just how much of a time machine YouTube can be. So now that clip, Betty Davis talking to Dick Cavett, that is from November 17th, 1971. And the clip is available on YouTube, of course, and it is entitled, Betty Davis on Not Being Cast as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. And over the years, I remember hearing lots of different versions of why she wasn't cast. And she told a great story. She tells Dick a story about Warner Brothers wanting her, in fact, optioning the book expressly to cast her and Errol Flynn. So Errol Flynn was going to be Clark Gable, and Betty Davis was going to be Scarlett O'Hara. And then there were some legal issues. There was a lawsuit between her and Warner Brothers, something about a foreign movie overseas. She took them to court, yada yada. But she told Dick Cavett that the reason that she was not cast is because she didn't like Errol Flynn as Clark Gable. She loved him as a person, she loved him as a performer, but he wasn't like a true actor. Or certainly he wasn't good enough or right enough or the Rhett Butler that she dreamed of. The Rhett Butler that, say, Vivien Leigh got of course, in her ultimate version with Clark Gable as Rhett Butler. So it's just one of the many juicy nuggets that you'll find on YouTube as we get into the time machine that allows us to peruse all this history, all this documentation of pop culture, entertainment, and history. And of course, what's great about YouTube is all the comments, all the viewer engagement. If you look over this clip, a woman for all seasons, starting in 1930, she was a force to reckon with, taking on directors, studio moguls, and the press. The complete package. She's so glamorous, strong, charming, witty, interesting, and intelligent. Betty was both magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Great sense of humor, could watch her all day. And this is an interesting one. In watching this, you realize that we have lost something in the way of mutual respect, class, and decorum over the years, and sadly, it's never coming back. And I was watching Bill Maher the other day, and he's, I guess, one of the only ones that I can think of. Maybe Conan still does it. I haven't watched him in a while. He might. But the idea of bringing the guests on and leaving them there. I guess Johnny Carson, the old Johnny Carson did it. Maybe Leno. But the idea of, bringing your guests all together and keeping them for that half an hour for your entire show. And that's something that Cavett did, which is great because you'd have Betty Davis maybe sharing the same stage with, say, Paul Simon or Muhammad Ali and all these greats of pop culture, history, politics, authors, actors, singers, what have you. There's even a really great clip, I guess that's the entire show, where he brings on, I believe it's is it Bart Connor? I think it's Bart Connor, the gymnast. Bottom line, though, is that Dick Cavett was a gymnast. He was a highly proficient gymnast in college. I think he won some scholarships, athletic medals or such. So he brings on the gymnast, and they have, set up parallel bars, and Dick proceeds to perform really well. It's one of those, wow, I didn't know, Dick Cavett was a gymnast. And I just asked my Alexa that his age. Dick Cavett is 85. 85. Now, when the clip of him on his show with the gymnast, he certainly was an 85. I guess that was about 40 years ago, so maybe he was about 40, 45. But still in great shape, still limber, and again, that was the beauty of his show, and of so many shows on YouTube where you go into this time machine. You're there in 1971 and whatever year, and you're there watching the show as you would in the 70s. I actually looked up the gymnast. It wasn't Bart Connor. It was Kurt Thomas who Dick Cavett interviewed, and sadly, he passed away about 2 years ago of a stroke. Very, very sad. What a dynamic guy in the in the YouTube in the Dick Cavett show that you can look up on YouTube, where he they bring out parallel bars and gymnastic equipment, and both Kurt and Dick perform on it. Very sad. He was only 64, but the resource that we have on YouTube is pretty spectacular. I've gone back and watched clips of Sonny and Cher show, the Carol Burnett show, old Johnny Carson. Even now, Leno is Letterman are classics, and Dick Cavett is nonetheless no less classic. In fact, if you want one show, and that's why I prominently put the clip of George Harrison in the write-up for the episode here, that Dick Cavett, just name a luminary of the time. It's just stunning how many people he interviewed, and again at length, because today you have maybe 5-7 minute sort of segments and clips, and you get an idea of a person. Many times, though, they're doing sort of a bit. They do promotion for a movie, TV show, album, and you don't get really a good sense of who they are. And with Dick Cavett, you had either 2 or 3 segments, half a show, a whole show. The Betty Davis show, I believe, is the entire show, and I think she went on at least another time, two times. So you really got a sense of who Betty was, and of course the famous feud, the famous Hollywood feud between Joan Crawford and Betty Davis that was dramatized in the FX series, and them, of course, appearing in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, which is one of my favorite films, one of the greatest thrillers of all time. Not only because of the story, but of course of their real life history and entanglements and connection and clashing. But I can't recommend Dick Cavett enough. I mean, all of YouTube is a great time machine, but Dick Cavett, if you want to reminisce, if you were there back in the day, or if you're much younger and you want to, see George Harrison, freak out when Dick Cavett mentions Yoko Ono, it's priceless, because you read about this stuff, you hear about it from, say, friends and parents and family members, and then to see something like that as it happened, it's priceless. I want to thank you guys for listening. As always, please subscribe if you have not. It's free. It's always free. But then there is the paid subscription, the $4.99 a month. You get some exclusives. You get goodies that the freebies do not. Either or. It's wonderful to have you guys. Love reading the feedback. Love getting the messages. The other day, I got a great message, and I responded. It's always public, so it gets sent to my email, and then you can, read my reply, and it's awesome. It's one of the, reasons I've been doing this now for over a year, is to get that, listener and reader and viewer response, because this is why I'm doing it. for you guys to have a resource and to discover stuff just like Dick Cavett on YouTube. Go watch YouTube, go watch Dick Cavett, all the new stuff, but then go down memory lane and reclaim the history of entertainment and pop culture and pretty much everything. See you soon.